All right, we are still in Chapter 2, Lesson 5, solving one-step equations, and now we're going to work on Example 3, which is a business application. So this is a story problem. So in 2003, what it says is a manufacturer, that's somebody that makes things, made a profit of $300 million. That's a lot of money. Profit, that's, you're making money. That's what the word profit means. This amount was $100 million more than the profit in 2000. What was the profit in 2002? What was the profit in 2002? So whenever you're doing a story problem, there's things you know and there's things that you don't know. So that usually the thing you don't know is the thing that they're asking for. What was the profit in 2002? So we don't know that. We need to figure that out. So whenever you're doing problems involving equations, we're going to write an equation. And so we are going to define our variable, and the variable is going to be what we don't know. So the thing we don't know is the profit in 2002. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say let X equal profit in 2002. All right? Then usually in story problems, there is a sentence which really tells you what the equation is going to be. And in this case, this is the sentence right here. Right here. This is the sentence which is going to give us our equation. Right here. It says this amount was $100 million more than the profit in 2002. Okay? Now there's a couple key words. The first key word is the word was. Now you'll see this in story problems. And what you need to know is whenever you see the word was, which is past tense, but you'll also see the word is a lot of times, and that would just be present tense. Was and is, that means equals. Okay? So when it says this amount was, we know that that is equals. Okay? So there is our equal sign. It's talking about this amount. What is this amount referring to? This is actually referring to the sentence before. In 2003, a manufacturer made a profit of $300 million. This. So the word this amount is referring to the previous sentence where it talks about the profit of $300 million. So instead of writing this amount, I'm going to write the amount that it's referring to, which is $300 million. And I know I'm talking in millions of dollars, so I'm just going to write the word 300. That is what this means. This amount is referring to the number 300. Then we go to was, which means equals. After that, it says 100 million, and the next keyword is more than. Well, we know from one of our previous lessons that the word more means plus, and than means flip. So I know that it's a plus, and flip means whatever's in front of the words more than is going to flip to the back. So this 100 is going to flip to the back. So the 100 is going to be there. So 100 million more than, the than's going to flip it, than what? And then after the word more than, this information right here is going to flip to the front, the profit in 2002. Well, what are we calling the profit in 2002? We are calling this X. So that is going to flip in front of the addition sign, which would be there. And there we have our one-step equation. This amount, 300, was is equals 100 million more, there's our plus, than, that means the 100 million flips to and back of the addition sign. And then whatever is after the word more than flips to the front. The profit in 2000, which is our X, that flips to in front of the addition sign. So that sentence right there is really key to this problem because that is the equation. Now we're just going to use our wonderful algebra knowledge that we've already been learning, and we want to figure out what X is. So there's two sides of the equation. This is one side, this is the other. We want to ask ourselves, is x by itself? And no, it's not. There is this plus 100 over here. Well, how is 100 related to x? Well, it's related to x through addition. So we are going to do the inverse operation of addition. And if you remember, the inverse operation of addition is subtraction, or a positive number is a negative number. So this is a positive 100, so we have to do the inverse, which would be a negative 100. And what happens when you have a positive 100 and negative 100? It cancels out and becomes 0, so we just have 0 plus x, which is x. We got x by itself. But whatever we do to this side of the equation, we have to do to the other side of the equation to keep things in balance. So we're going to subtract this side by 100. So we basically have 300 minus 100, which is 200. That means that the amount of profit in 2002 was $200 million. So there we go. That is the answer to this problem. So now I want you to check it out, example 3. Okay? It says, this year the class bake sale made a profit of $243. This was an increase of $125 over last year. How much did they make last year? So I want you to go ahead and pause. I want you to define the variable, write your equation, work it all out, and then go ahead and pause, do all that. And when you have your answer, press play, and we will see you in a little bit, and you can check your answer and see how you did. All right, see you in a bit. All right, we are back. Let's look at this story problem. This year, the class bake sale made a profit of $243. This was an increase of $125 over last year. How much did they make last year? So the big question first is, what is the thing that we don't know? And it's usually found in the question, how much did they make last year? So how much profit was there last year? We don't know that. So that's going to be our variable. So we're going to say let x equal profit made last year. Okay. All right, great. We defined our variable. Now we have to find that sentence which is referring to our equation. And if you see here, this is the sentence. This was an increase of $125 over last year. That is the sentence, which is the key to setting up our equation. So, there's a key word there. Do you guys see it? The word was. The word was means equals. Now, on this side of the equal sign, it says the word this. Well, what is this referring to? The word this is referring to the previous sentence. This year, the class bake sale made a profit of $243. This. So this is referring to the profit that was made of $243. So instead of the word this, we're going to insert 243. Was is equals. An increase means what operation? What operation is increase? Increase means addition. So it was an increase of $125 over last year. Well, what variable do we have for last year? Last year we are using x. X is the profit made last year. So we're going to write down x, and it was an increase to x. That means x got bigger by $125. So this is the equation you should have down. 240 equals x plus 125. This is 243, was is equals, and increase means we're talking about addition, and we're adding 125 to the last year, and the last year is represented by x. Perfect. So now we can go ahead and solve it. We need to get x by itself. Okay? So we're trying to isolate x, get it by itself on this side of the equation. So the only thing we see is x. Now, is x by itself? No, it is not. There is this plus 125. So we need to figure out, well, how is 125 related to x? It's related to x through addition. Well, what is the inverse operation of addition? And it's subtraction. So we're going to subtract this side by 125, and whatever we do to this side, we have to do to this side. So a positive 125 subtracted by 125, that ends up being 0. Those cancel each other out. And there we have it. We have x by itself. And then we just need to do this little math right here. 243 minus 125. Well, I have to borrow from the 4, make that 13. That's a 3. 13 minus 5 would be 8. 3 minus 2 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. And I always like to write it like that. So now that's our answer, x equals 118. So we can say the profit made last year was $118. And if you got that right, you always want to answer your question in with a sentence. Great job. But these are the things. You can't just figure it out in your head. I mean, you could, but what we're trying to do, the skill that we're learning is, number 1, being able to define your variable. Number 2, we're practicing setting up an equation, and then we're using our wonderful algebra skills that we just learned in this lesson to arrive at an answer, and then we're going to answer the question, the original question, how much did they make last year, in the form of a sentence. So if you did all that right, great job, and I will see you next time.